cares? He doesn't care about you. Can't you see that he doesn't love you? The fool is just killing time with you.
Oh no, Nsama. I will not have you insult my husband in his house. No.
This guy is not good enough for you. I mean, why should you care when he's out there jumping up and down with every woman he sees?
Am I allowed to ask questions? Ponga, why are you so eager about whistling in the dark that our father was murdered?
Yes, because he was. He was murdered. I mean, he was foaming when he died. What you call the tower boy?
I foam in my mouth when I sleep. Does that mean I'm poisoned?
Oh, Chikondi, stop being stupid. We are not in the mood for your rubbish right now.
And the black sheep speaks.
Don't call me that.
If I tell you what to do, are you going to do it? Call Amose for me. Tell him I love you.
Mama, Amose of all people, sure. No, name.
Natika itana Amose. Ikazipaya. That's what's up with us. Okay.
You. Don't be stupid. Huh? You think I'm foolish? Huh? You want to play with me? You don't know me. I can be as stunning as a cop there. Huh? Where you go? Huh? You don't want to kill me?
Outside. And outside we shall be singing goodbye, hi dear CJ. We shall never forget you, although you are very far away. We shall never forget you.
mafuta hiyo wana Asha uyu kambio chichi nduja kutia kunda manini ashari so ili
Waiona pale.
I didn't expect the overwhelming response. You know, I was in Chingola performing with the classic band, and I saw the video on TV on television. I was like, what? The next time I'm coming out, Sister D. I was like, how do I manage? Wow. You know, you get on a bus. I mean, we're using a bus. The conductor is busy calling people. Hey, Ngenani, your Sister D, we're in bus. How am I going to handle this? Wow. You know.
Hello, beautiful people. My name is Esther Chungunya Tando, and you are watching BMTV channel 114. God bless.
The thrills and spills over the 2026 FIFA World Cup continue to entertain us during the course of the late nights and, of course, in the wee hours of each and every day. Speaking about the last 4 matches that we've witnessed at the 2026 FIFA World Cup, 7 goals have hit the back of the net in those 4 matches. And, of course, it's a historical day in as far as the tournament is concerned, because we're going to hit the 1,000th game in as far as the tournament is concerned. We'll be talking a little bit more about that and giving you some interesting statistics surrounding the 1,000th game, because a certain Hervé Renard, many people know him from his days with the Chipwatanga boys, will be in charge in that match as they lock horns against the Blue Samurai of Japan at 6 hours Zambia time that is in the wee hours of tomorrow, which is Sunday. That is coming up, as well as our new segment that will be looking at the pros and cons in terms of the expanded, tournament at the FIFA World Cup. For the first time, we have 3 co-host nations and, of course, 48 teams competing over a marathon of 104 games, 13 different time zones in terms of kickoff times at this particular World Cup, just underlining the fact that the tournament actually is being played across 5 different time zones over the course of this June and July. My name is Isaac Chipwatanga, and of course, to help me unravel all that I've talked about and much, much more, I'm joined by 2 gentlemen who need no introduction to Zambian football. On the far side, Ponga Liwewe joins us. Ponga, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
In between me and Ponga is the nimble left-footed former Chipolopolo winger in Clifford Mulenga. Clifford, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yesterday, let's get straight into it. Morocco, probably in many people's eyes, Clifford, the strongest team in as far as the continent is concerned. By virtue of what you saw yesterday against the Scots, did they just re-emphasize that probably they're the best team from the African continent that can probably go deeper in terms of a run at this World Cup?
And I think there was a lot of belief in the way they played. Like I just mentioned before we came online, that this is the first African team at the World Cup to surpass 600 passes in a match. That's a huge statistic. So it shows how much they've grown from the last World Cup where they got to the semi-finals. So they have once again shown that they are very intentional about what they're doing. And from the way they are going, I think the way they dominated Scotland and the way they played against Brazil in their first game, for me, I think they have the capability of going all the way to the semi-finals once more in this World Cup.
Ponga, how do you sum up their performance yesterday against a Scottish side that had to dig deep to just ensure that they kept them at bay for the duration of that 90 minutes?
Yeah, clearly Scotland is not the Scotland of the likes of Kenny Dalglish and Alan Hansen in those old days. Scotland was there or amongst teams that could even take on the best teams in the world. I think because of the changes with players now coming in from Europe freely into England, the doors have closed for the Scottish, the Irish, so they don't have the same momentum they had in those years. But even having said that, they still have enough, because a lot of their players, some of them are in the Championship, some of them, a few of them in the Premier League. They still should have enough to give a more competent performance than what they did. But I think what Morocco did show is that they're a class above most of the teams in the world. And I say most of the teams in the world because they've shown now in the second World Cup in succession that they can play against the best, as they did against Brazil. That was a draw, which a lot of people thought they were the dominant team. In fact, they were the dominant team. And so it shows that, we talk about African football and being a step sometimes behind the rest of the world, but it shows if you get your house in order, well organized, well structured, with an organized plan and a system of how you want to achieve your success, it can be done. Morocco have led the way in doing that.
Clifford, a quick snap check at, how the match unfolded will tell us that 70 seconds is all it took for this, Moroccan side through Ismail Saibiri to ensure that they get the lead, and they held on to it. From a player's perspective, you're sent onto the pitch, the coach has got a tactical game plan for that particular encounter, and then you concede 70 seconds into that match. What does that do for your game plan and your confidence if you're a Scottish player?
Well, it can actually do things to you. It can either uplift you, or it can, just drain you from the beginning, because obviously you don't want to consider as early as that, because it becomes very difficult to come back, especially if you're playing a very strong, disciplined team such as Morocco. So for Scotland, it kind of rattled them, but I like the way they carried on with the game. They tried to come back, they tried to play their game. But unfortunately for them, Morocco was on top of them, and they just couldn't get back into the game. But as a player, I think it's always a wake-up call. It's more like a slap in the face, So, it was unfortunate that they conceded early, but the way they came back into the game was quite impressive.
Okay. Ponga, let's talk a little bit more about this, man that we're going to see on our screen, Ismail Saibari. I mean, this is a guy who reports suggest that now he's on his way to Bayern Munich in a transfer that has been completed in the last 48 hours or so. How crucial is he? Because he's the man who scored both the goals for this, Moroccan side at this particular World Cup. Just underline how crucial he is, to Morocco's prospects in terms of this World Cup.
Yeah, I mean, previously, if there was a missing link in this Moroccan format, in this Moroccan team, it was the number 9. But they seem now to have found somebody who has got the knack for scoring goals, who gets into the right place at the right time, who is able to put away the ball when it matters. So I think that is the final piece of the jigsaw that they've been looking for, and they've found it now.
Of course, they have the likes of El Kabi, senior players in this, squad, who did pretty well at the last, African Cup of Nations. Also, El Nasri, also part and parcel of the team. But it is Saibari who is keeping them on the bench for the first 2 matches at this particular World Cup, underlining how much he's important to the cause of the Moroccans. Clifford, I just want you to speak to the statistics that we're going to see over this particular encounter between Morocco and Scotland. What do we read into, those statistics? How do you interpret them?
You can just see from the statistics that was total dominance from the Moroccan team. I think from the first whistle, the early goal that they scored, all the way through the 97 minutes of the game that they played yesterday, they were very, very aggressive. Scotland is a very aggressive team. They play that typical English aggressive game, and Morocco just matched them for that aggression. The physicality was there, and also Morocco just decided to they controlled the game, the possession of the game. I didn't even see McTominay in that game yesterday. I expected McGinn to come out and do some miracles for Scotland, but they were just outplayed by this, confident and disciplined Moroccan team. So it was good to see, an African team competing at that level and, dominating a European team at that high level. It shows that African teams are now catching up with what we've been lacking for a while now in terms of world football.
Director, probably you can have that graphic once again. Just delve in a little bit closer and a closer inspection at those statistics. In that third column, Ponga, the fact that 0 shots on target by the Scottish really underlines how solid this, Moroccan side was defensively in that particular encounter, isn't it?
Any great team will tell you that the key thing is to be solid defensively before anything else. And I think this is what the Moroccans have shown. Even against Brazil, they hardly gave them an opportunity in front of goal. They defended in so much depth and organization that they're a very, very difficult side to break down. And that's what leads to teams having success. I think this is the foundation of their success, that they're rock solid at the back, don't give anything away, and then have more opportunities up front to be creative.
Okay. Clifford, from a Scottish perspective, the fact that now they have to play for their lives against Brazil in their last encounter. Brazil not automatically through because they only have 4 points. And of course, Scotland have 3 points. If they win, the Scots, they leapfrog Brazil. So how do you expect them to approach that particular encounter? A little bit cautious or maybe a little bit expansive, considering that they need a win to ensure that they, secure a place in the round of 32?
Yeah, well, I read some Scottish sports journalists saying that they were very impressed with the way Scotland approached the game against Morocco, looking at how Morocco almost dominated the Brazilian team. So they believe that if they can just go a 1% better than that, what they did against Morocco, they stand a chance of actually beating Brazil. So I think they'll be going into that game knowing that if they just push Brazil to the limit, they could, get the maximum points. Okay. Because right now, I don't think anyone right now believes that we're actually seeing the Brazil of yesteryears. I think this is a Brazilian team that's still trying to find its feet, trying to show their dominant way of playing football, but they're not yet there. The new coach in Ancelotti trying to instill those old Brazilian, characters and stuff like that, But, I think any team right now will have the confidence that they can actually face Brazil and actually get a result against them. So I bet Scotland will be betting that they can also beat Brazil at this moment.
Ponga, from a Moroccan perspective, they face Haiti. Many people believe, saying that they are the whipping boys in this, particular group. Is it a case of Morocco approaching that particular last group match with the mindset of saying that if it's not broken, don't try and fix it and be on the front foot from the onset against the Haitians?
Definitely, they have to stick to their positivity, playing positive, moving forward, creating chances, the things that have brought them success thus far. That's what they need to focus on. And I think they've got the quality I saw Haiti, a couple of goals against them in the game against Brazil.
Yeah.
Not rock solid at the back. I mean, a team that Morocco can easily break down.
Okay.
Just need to capitalize, playing to their strengths and to get the results and seal the group with 3 wins out of 3.
Okay, Ponga mentions Brazil and Haiti. Let's just confirm that through a graphical depiction of the fact that the Samba boys, the Seleção, managed a 3-0 victory yesterday. And it's familiar faces on the score sheet. If you're a Manchester United supporter, you'll be happy that Mateus Cunha was on target with a brace, and of course Vinicius Jr. for the second match running, similar to Saibari, on target for the Brazilians at this particular World Cup. Clifford, I'm sure you watched this game quite closely. In your overall, summary of this particular encounter, do you think that the Brazilians answered some of the critics that, were literally, on cloud 9 after that, match against the Moroccans, and maybe, answered some of those questions that many of them who might have thought about the Samba boys are not at that level that they have been in the past?
Well, in the first half, I think they did quite well.
Yeah.
In the first half, they were very dominant. They were very intentional about the way they wanted to break down the Haitian defense.
Yeah.
Vinicius and Cunha were on fire yesterday. Rafinha also was in and out of the game, and it's just unfortunate that he had to go off injured.
Yeah.
But I think the first half was really, really a solid display from the Brazilian team, But not to take anything away from Haiti, this is I think the first time they're participating in a World Cup.
Well, second, yeah.
Well, the
For a
second
long
time.
time.
Similar.
For a long
I think
time.
they were
yeah.
there in 70.
74, similar like Zaire. Yes.
Exactly, yeah. So, and they're not a team that anyone expects to give Brazil any sort of headache,
Yeah.
But going into the second half, I feel Brazil took their foot off the pedal, allowed Haiti to actually have 3 shots on target.
Yeah.
So there's still a few questions that Brazil need to answer, and I feel like as they go into the tournament, if they will progress past Scotland, they will need to tighten up a little bit more in defense, because if you're meeting your France or Spain in the knockout stages, you're not going to go anywhere with that type of display that they showed against Haiti in the second half.
Ponga, I was listening to a podcast earlier on this morning about the ironic situation that, people in Haiti found themselves with, because for so long, because of the civil unrest and the violence that is ongoing,
Yes.
most of them had supported Brazil during the times of Pelé, and they even went and played a match in Haiti in 2004, 2 years after they had won the World Cup in 2002, as part of the United Nations peace mission to try and bring unity and so on and so forth. The question that I want to ask you is that in that podcast, Tim Vickery, one of the most renowned journalists in South America, actually pointed out that there are more Haitians who support the Brazil national team than their own national team. Have you ever come across a situation whereby the countrymen and women from your own country are probably rooting for your opponents at a World Cup match?
No, that's quite rare, but I think you can understand, given the turmoil and all the confusion in Haiti, that it may be very difficult for people to have that nationalistic identity as a country when the country is generally falling apart a lot of times, and for so long over so many years that there's been so much chaos and confusion there. So you can sort of have a little bit of understanding, but generally you want to root for your country at all times, irrespective of the situation.
I want to get your perspective on the fact that this Haitian side has qualified for this World Cup with a coach who has been there at the helm for the last 5 years, has not been to Haiti because they haven't had an opportunity to play their home matches at home because of the political and civil unrest and the war that is raging on between various gangs and so on and so forth, but still managed to get to the World Cup. In a way, do you think he's already overachieved? And based on that, background that I've given, this Haitian side is already punching above their weight?
They definitely are, because those are difficult circumstances to play under. Anybody whose country has had to play outside of the country. I mean, even in CAF, some of our home countries don't play at home because of the conditions of the pitches. They are forced to play in neutral countries. You can even see the effect on those teams when they're not playing at home. So it's a huge achievement to be able to get results when you're not playing on your home ground.
Okay, let's talk about this man on our screen, Mateus Cunha of Manchester United, Clifford. Yesterday, the star of this Brazilian side with a brace. Me and you were talking off camera, I think, when we're talking about this Brazilian side lacking a natural number 9, like in the mode of Ronaldo or Adriano and so on and so forth. Based on that performance, could he be the answer for this Brazilian side in that number 9 role, especially after Igor fluffed his lines, in that opening encounter against Morocco?
No. He's not a natural number 9. He's more of a 10 or a wide player.
Yeah.
He enjoys getting on the ball, trying to run at defenders and creating chances for his own teammates. So if he's going to play as a number 9, then they'll have to make sure that he plays as a false 9 like he did yesterday.
Yeah.
I know Ancelotti was even asked about it after the game, and he says he will see in the next game if he starts with Cunha again. So, but with the injury to Rafinha, I have a feeling that if Rafinha won't be available, they'll probably throw Cunha wide and bringing Igor back as a number 9.
Yeah.
Because you could see, especially in the second half, I don't think Brazil registered a shot on target in the second half because they did not have a number 9 in front there. So I think they still have a problem with a number 9 up front.
One would probably argue and say that they were leading 3-0. They were probably reserving a little bit of energy. I mean, we're talking about the soaring temperatures that you're playing every 3 or 4 days at this tournament. Surely, if you know that the game is done, it's up to, your opponents to take the game to you and try and get something out of it. If you're leading 3-0, you've got, the match pretty much wrapped up against a Haitian side that had little to offer as an offensive force.
Oh, they had 3 shots on target, Haiti, so they could have actually come back, But, for a team of Brazil's caliber, 5-time world champions, they need to keep the professionalism.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of people going out there to watch them, to support them.
Yeah.
You don't want to take your foot off the pedal because people want to see the Brazilian type of football.
Yeah.
So you could say we are 3-0 up against Haiti, but, sometimes goal difference matters as well.
Yeah.
Scotland could go out there and beat them, and they're going to rule the chances that they should have scored against Haiti and got on goal difference.
Yeah.
So it's always important to, if you can score 10 goals, get the 10 goals.
Yeah.
Because you never know what other teams are going to do.
Okay. Let's probably speak to those statistics, because you were talking about the statistics and the fact that, Haiti managed a few number of shots on target in this, particular encounter. Based on those statistics, Ponga, and the fact that we're hearing from the team medics in and around that Brazilian setup that, Neymar will be available. Rafinha, obviously, has got an injury. We're not so sure if he's going to be part and parcel of the team. Do you risk Neymar from the onstart if you're Ancelotti in this, next match against the Scots?
No, I don't think he would take that risk. I think Neymar is probably being kept as a trump card. If things don't go well, maybe the opportunity to bring him in and hope he can change something on the pitch. But to start with him, I don't think that is really much of a prospect for this World Cup.
Okay. We talk about, Ancelotti and the fact that, goal difference could decide whoever, wins this particular group. But is there an aspect of him being Italian and that Catenaccio kind of play where they only score enough to win a football match? And if that enough is a 1-0 scoreline in their favor, then that's basically it. Is that potentially what we're seeing? That Italian in Ancelotti, coming to the fore and stifling what many people call is the samba flair, where, the Brazilians will say, we're going to go all out and attack you and score 9. As long as you score 8, it's fine with us.
I don't think he's really adopted the negativity of Italian football in his role with any of his clubs, or even now that he's head of Brazil. I've not seen him take that sort of principle that the Italians use when they play as the Italian national side. I think why he's there is probably to bring some more level of European organization and structure that Brazil have tended to lack. They haven't won the World Cup since 2002, Korea, Japan. So I think the intention was to bring in a bit of structure and a bit of organization, which I think is the reason they've opted to bring in a foreign coach for the first time in Brazil's history, that they've looked outside of Brazil to bring in somebody to lead them.
And just to reiterate, so in Ponga's, point there, since 2002, when Brazil did win the World Cup, every single time that they've been eliminated from the World Cup, they've been eliminated at the hands of a European side. So maybe that is one of the reasoning behind the appointment of Carlo Ancelotti. Let's just wrap up Group C by looking at how the table looks like after match day 2 and who is leading in as far as, the front running for this particular group. And I can tell you off the top of my head that, Brazil sit on top with 4 points, followed by Morocco with an inferior goal difference of +1, also on 4 points. Scotland on 3 points, and Haiti on 0 points with a -4 goal difference in that regard. Clifford, as you look at that table, is it fair to say that Morocco and Brazil have probably punched their ticket into the next round?
I would say Morocco probably are more assured of going through.
Yeah.
But as for Brazil, they'll have to avoid defeat to Scotland.
Okay.
So they just have to better Scotland's result. But as for Morocco, I don't see them losing to Haiti. So it's between Brazil and Scotland right now.
Okay. You share the same sentiments, Ponga?
Yeah, generally, yes, because I think Morocco is virtually home and dry with their last game against Haiti. Whereas the Scots have the capability and the capacity to pull a surprise against Brazil. They showed that they're quite a well-organized team, and they may decide to play English long ball football and take the game to Brazil and bypass the midfield, play it long to the big guys up front and try and get something.
Okay.
So that one has got a lot of question marks until they actually get out on the field and show who's going to dominate. I think Brazil are more wary that they're playing Scotland now as the last game. I think they would be quite concerned that this is a game we really need to dominate and take by the scruff of its neck and control and win it from the beginning.
Yeah. My two guests here have rightly, analyzed and dissected Group C. Time for us now to move on to matters in as far as Group D is concerned. We're just going to touch on a few of the aspects in as far as the group is concerned. Yesterday in the group, we did see the United States, one of the co-hosts, already progress and qualify to the round of 16, 2 wins from 2. But in the other game, there was an interesting altercation or incident that happened in the later stages of, the first half at the World Cup, because a certain Miguel Almiron, many of you might remember him on the books of Newcastle a couple of seasons ago, he was sent off. And we will be able to see the images of, this, particular sending off that is stemming from a new rule. And we'll be able to highlight on that rule. This comes, Ponga and Clifford, in the aftermath of what transpired in the UEFA Champions League, where Vinicius was, allegedly racially abused and insulted. And Director probably can have that new rule that FIFA have introduced amongst the 11 rules at the World Cup, which is number 5. There are red cards for covering mouths to clamp down on abusive language and confrontational behavior. Any player who covers their mouth with a hand, arm, or shirt during a confrontation will face a straight red card. This came after a VAR, review, and he becomes the first, player in World Cup history for covering his mouth and being sent off after a review. Are FIFA taking it too far with these rule changes? Because it's almost like second nature sometimes, to cover your mouth when you're talking on the football pitch amongst footballers.
Yeah, I think now it's really been driven into their brains now that don't absolutely at any time cover your mouth because it's a bookable offense. It's actually a red card offense.
Yeah.
And justifiably so after what happened in the Champions League when allegedly things were said, that caused a rift between Vinicius Jr. and the Portuguese player.
Yeah.
So it's justifiable.
Yeah.
People will say, but now maybe FIFA is taking it a step too far. But I think some of these things have to be stamped out now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's no better occasion than the World Cup to stamp them out for good.
Okay. Ponga says it's justifiable. Clifford, I want to get a perspective from a player. Now, you're in the 89th minute. You're given a free kick. And you're talking tactics. Normally 3 or 4 players, 2 or 3 players stand over the ball and you're discussing how you're going to take it. And you don't want to, show to the opposing team what you're trying to do or how you're going to execute that. You cover your mouth, and then you're saying to yourself, okay, let's go far post. They're talking to
But I think I saw the word confrontational in that FIFA rule. But it should be a confrontational situation. So I don't know.
Opponent.
Yeah. Well,
if
it's a free kick, I think it's not going to be a red card offense.
How are they going to know that it's not confrontational? Sometimes, there are players who play on the same team at club level, you understand? And obviously you're wearing different jerseys. Sometimes that on the basis of you wearing different jerseys and you're just laughing or maybe sharing a joke, you understand? You see what I mean? I can imagine Brazil is playing against Morocco and he comes up against Hakimi and then they're joking about just something maybe that happened. You know what I mean? And because they're wearing two different jerseys from opposite sides, the referee decides to brand a red card. It could be anything. And for me, that's where I'm asking from a player's perspective. Do you think FIFA, I think there are more pressing issues that they need to address in the game rather than, people covering their mouths and sending them off? What's your take, Clifford?
Well, it depends. Like if you look at the red card that was given out early this morning, the referee had to consult the VAR to check if the player was actually talking to the opponent.
Yeah.
Because Amir refused to say I wasn't talking to him.
Yeah.
But when they went to check, it was clear that he was speaking to the Turkish defender.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there'll be that thing whereby you can tell if I'm talking to you or I'm not talking to you.
Okay.
Because as players, we've got this tendency of saying naughty things to the opponent. trying to get in his head, So for me, it's a bit of a very unfair rule to some extent. Sometimes we'll just be joking, and I'll cover my mouth and I'll say something naughty to you, So some players are now using that to get their opponents sent off, which for me is a little bit unfair, but but rules are rules, and if the rules are there and someone breaks them, then the law enforcement has to take course.
Maybe that tells us a lot about, Pierre Luigi Collina, a non-nonsense referee in his time, the head of FIFA referees department now. Yeah. And maybe he's trying, by all means to ensure that he puts his footprint in as far as refereeing is concerned at this particular World Cup. Let's just quickly take a look at the complexion of Group D at this particular World Cup. We touched on the fact that the USA safely through have confirmed alongside another co-host in Mexico as the first two sides to progress beyond the group stages. Ponga, if you look at the other two teams on 3 points, it's a toss of a coin because those two teams actually meet in the last encounter. What sort of, feisty affair do you expect, considering that it's basically a winner takes all in that particular match?
Yeah, I was quite disappointed with Australia against the US yesterday. They seemed to lack the willpower and the urge to take the game to the US. They sort of played in a little bit of a shell. I think the US were the team that came out and imposed themselves and dictated the game. So Australia, I think going into their last game, needs to come out and, show their true character and their will, their desire to get the result. On 3 points, both teams have an equal chance. I think Australia showed by beating Turkey that they have some capabilities, but against Paraguay, I think they really need to raise their game if they want to fight for that second place position.
Clifford, let me come to you as we continue looking at that graphic on the screen. Offset, you were telling me about how disappointed you are about Turkey. What disappointed you about them? Is it the results or their performance? And then secondly, what sort of a match do you expect, considering that Australia don't need to get a result in that one? A draw is good enough for them to finish second because they've got a better goal difference in that regard. So do you expect them to sit back in a low block against Paraguay and ask the Paraguayan side to, probably take the game to them?
Well, to start with Turkey, I think when you look at the team sheet, I think Turkey has the best players in this group. So I expected a lot more from them in this group. I really expect them to actually top this group.
On paper, they look good, huh?
Exactly. So for them to have played 2 games against 2 weaker teams and not score a goal is quite very disappointing for me. So that's where my disappointment comes from. And Adagula, I expected a lot more from him, but I felt like he wasn't himself, and so he also kind of let down the Turkish team. But when you look at Australia and Paraguay, for me, if Paraguay can approach the game against Australia like they did against Turkey today with a man down, that character, that will to win, they are definitely going to get a result against Australia.
Yeah.
And I think in this group, in terms of when it comes to set pieces, Paraguay is the most dangerous. Like they really can whip in a ball and they can just attack that ball. So, and I saw Australia against the USA, they kind of struggled defending those set pieces. So if Paraguay can play to their strength, I see them easily winning that game against Australia.
And the intensity of the USA was absolutely, a marvel to watch against, Australia. They failed the Australians to cope with that, isn't it?
Yeah, well, they have the 12th man behind them, so, and they haven't been to the World Cup in a while, and they're hosting it now, and so they really want to impress. And Donald Trump didn't have very good words to say about the game of soccer. So I think they want to prove to him that soccer also has a big voice over the NFL and basketball in the United States of America. So it's good to see them performing the way they are performing, and it would be quite interesting if they could even go all the way to at least in the knockout stage, like the quarterfinal somewhere there. I think it would be good for their game.
I wish I was a fly on that White House wall, just to listen to some of the conversations of Donald Trump that he might be having, because it's been players with different backgrounds. Some of them immigrants, children who have been scoring for the United States of America, but his policy on immigrants is something else. That's all a story for another day. But let's just quickly look back and just confirm the results from yesterday's match day. And of course, some of them played in the early hours of today. And we did see the likes of the USA posting a 2-0 victory over Australia. And of course, Morocco doing Africa proud by getting that 1-0 victory over Scotland. Brazil proved to be too strong against Haiti in that 3-0 demolition. And of course, Paraguay, even though they had a man down, getting the job done against Turkey in the early hours of today. Let's just quickly get to catch our breath for a moment or two. On the other side of this break, we go into our new segment on the show, looking at the pros and cons of an expanded 48 team at the FIFA World Cup.
Fabulous Engineering Limited, Zambia's largest and the most advanced engineering company. We have the following products: hydraulic pipe fitting, roller shutter doors, farming equipment, mining equipment, plasma cutting, surface grinders, shearing machines, spiral ducting pipes, rolling machines, flat bending machines. We install industrial plants and carry out all type of turning, machining, fabrication and engineering works. We also manufacture different sizes of locally made fabulous pots. For more details, visit our website www.fabulousengineering.com. Our new premises, we are located at plot number 7204 Kachiza Road, behind Migma, PO Box 38005, Lusaka, Zambia. Or call us on +2609557640111 or +2609796983882 or +26096906449. Fabulous Engineering Limited, Zambia's largest and the most advanced engineering company.
UTBM University, the prime institution for lifelong learning. Enroll your university education now. Call 0978-430872, 0977-766866. Email utbmuniversity@gmail.com or simply log to www.utbmuniversity.org.
Thanks for staying with us on BMTV channel 114 on your Top Star Bouquet, or alternatively, you're catching us on the move on our Facebook page, which is BMTV Zambia channel 114. Make sure that you drop us a comment in the comment section We always appreciate to hear from you and hear your thoughts on this particular program. Remember that you're watching Beyond the Whistle with me, your host, Isaac Chipwatanga. This is the segment that goes beyond the results and beyond the scoreline to look at various aspects of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. On this particular, segment, we are tackling today the pros and cons of the expanded 48 FIFA World Cup tournament. Ponga, let me just come to you first. When you heard that the tournament is being, expanded, what were your initial thoughts about a 48 team in comparison to a 32 team tournament that we've had since 1998?
Yeah, my first thought was, look, it's a World Cup. There's no need to expand it beyond 32 because you obviously want the best teams playing their football at this tournament. You don't want teams who will be walkovers or teams who will be overwhelmed or whose quality won't give much value to the tournament. Yeah, but now that I'm watching the football, I'm actually quite enjoying it. I'm actually quite enjoying it, but even the African Cup of Nations, I recall when we went up, we're now at 24. Yeah, I thought 16 was ideal because there's a bit of dilution when you bring in more teams.
Yeah.
But I think 32. I think I still would have preferred a 32-team World Cup.
Okay. If you look at, the image that we're going to see of, the president of UEFA, that is, President Safrin there, he's talking about, the likes of Curacao and Uzbekistan condemning UEFA President, Safrin for saying the World Cup games are uninteresting. Clifford, is he right, especially when you look at the evidence that is presented after match day 1? 4 teams that have made their debut at this World Cup, only 1 has managed to get a draw. The other 3 have, been defeated. And if I just run through those results, Spain versus Cape Verde was a 0-0 scoreline. Colombia beat one of the co-hosts, the debutants in Uzbekistan quite convincingly 3-1. It was also the similar state of affairs when Jordan succumbed 3-1 to Austria. And the most humbling of defeats for the newcomers to the global stage was when Germany thumped Curacao by 7-1. Is he right that, we're having these dead rubbers? It's uninteresting. Some of these, teams are just not ripe enough. They don't have the quality to compete at this highest level.
No, he's absolutely wrong, actually. Just to echo what
you want Zambia to qualify.
Look, the spirit of FIFA is football development around the world.
Yeah,
and they've invested billions of dollars in trying to get countries such as Curacao to this type of World Cup, Cape Verde Islands and them. So. But when you look at the quality of the football that is being played, I think. You can see that the FIFA investments in football development is actually working.
Yeah.
The fruits are being bared. You can see it right now. So I think for me, the only fear that I kind of have regarding the expansion is the fatigue of the players. Because most of them just came from playing the Champions League finals and, CAF Champions League finals and straight into camp. They haven't got much of a rest. Then the World Cup is finishing in a month's time. And immediately from there, they get a week or 2 off the leagues that's in August. So I think there's that fatigue, there's that tiredness from some of the players. I think that's the fear that UEFA has.
But how do you run away from the fact that, none of these debutants are really making their mark? I mean, even Cape Verde, who you can say got a result, they were literally making 2 lines in their own box. They were offering literally nothing.
If you're going to invest money in something, you want to see how it's working out, isn't it? So FIFA, that's why FIFA, when they were expanding this team, they said they wanted to see how it was going to work out. And to be honest,
why not expand the under 17? Maybe use that as a test drive, or the under 20 or something like that, rather than the most prestigious football competition in the world.
Because you want to test something to see how prestigious your investment is. So for me, I totally agree with FIFA on this expansion. I didn't even know that Curacao could play football, but trust me, after this experience, we're definitely going to see a stronger, more motivated Curacao. So they're encouraging football development in the world. So for me, I don't see anything wrong with the expansion of this World Cup. I think it will even encourage other countries to, develop their football infrastructure even a lot further. So I think for this one, kudos to FIFA and thumbs down to the UEFA president.
Okay, I'm seeing Ponga looking at me with those glaring eyes. Probably
the teams that go out at the earliest round will walk away with at least $12 million, which can go into development and restructuring, reorganizing their domestic game. So I think it's, from that perspective, it's a bit of a positive thing for them as well.
Okay. Yeah. How do you run away from the fact that, you've just mentioned player fatigue, Clifford?
Yeah.
How is FIFA? Because players have been crying about this. I mean, as you rightly put it, somebody comes from a season where they've already played 50, 60 matches for their domestic sides at club level, and then they come into a World Cup, you expect them to be at peak performance, and yet FIFA are increasing the number of teams competing, increasing the number of teams that you need to play for you to the number of games you need to play to win the World Cup ultimately. Isn't that ultimately putting at risk the very people who are at the heart of football itself, which are the football players themselves? Because without the football players, there's no FIFA World Cup.
This is where now football science now becomes very important. Player recovery, training, the way training sessions are going to be conducted, so if Zambia is going to want to qualify for the World Cup, the coaches need to stop training twice a day. Why are you training a team in the morning and the afternoon? What are you looking for that you can't get in one training session? So I think we need to invest in a lot of sports science. That's why the top level guys are getting paid a lot of money because of this type of, they know they're playing a lot of games and they need you to be top form. So they're teaching you discipline. They're teaching you how to take care of yourself. But I mean, if Mbappe, who's earning so much money, can play 3-4 games in 12 days, what about the guy that's earning less money, wants to reach the levels of Mbappe? How is he doing to get himself those levels? So it goes about, sports science, taking care of your body, being mentally tough. If you're going to want to get that lot of money, you're going to have to sacrifice certain lifestyle of yourself. Cristiano Ronaldo is 41. Lionel Messi is 38. But look at the level at which these guys are performing at. You understand? So yes, they could play a lot of games. Players will get fatigued, they'll get tired, but recovery is always going to come into play, and it's very important to understand the sports science. So FIFA is aware of this. As much as they're investing in a lot of games, they're also helping clubs invest in sports sciences. That's why they're giving these countries a lot of money. I mean, $12 million, that's a lot of money to invest in a lot of things. So
if it goes to the right project.
Exactly.
And doesn't end up in somebody's pocket. But we've talked, so much, Ponga, about, the cons. Let's look at the pros of this expansion by FIFA of the 48 teams. From an African perspective, the one that comes naturally is the fact that we're coming from a situation where 1974, we only had one representative.
Yes.
We had 3 at some point in the 90s and 80s. We've come to 5, and now we have doubled that, number of, competing teams. Surely that's
this World Cup, we're at 10 now. I think that's a positive, definitely from an African perspective, in that we have more teams playing at the World Cup. One statistic before we went to 48 teams that I used to look at was that, when you get to the quarterfinals, of the 8 teams playing in the quarterfinals, a lot of the time 7 would come from Europe, 6 or 7 would come from Europe. Just indicating that the dominance of world football is in Europe. The center of world football is in Europe. And you'd have maybe one or two from South America. But now we've gone to 10 African teams. I doubt very much whether in the latter stages of the tournament, that increase of 10 will be reflected in the number of teams getting to the latter stages. Morocco, 100%, is a team with that potential. But do the other African teams have that capability or levels of organization to do that? I've got a few question marks, but we'll wait and see as the tournament progresses.
So in a nutshell, you're probably agreeing with me that the competition has been diluted by certain, not high-level teams, the elite, get into the World Cup because of the expansion of the tournament, isn't it?
No, I agree 100% that, some people were saying before this World Cup that, now we've got 10 teams, we've got a better chance to go further, which I don't necessarily agree with, because it's really a question of how capable are you of going further in the tournament based on your preparations, the players you have, your organization as an association. Those are the critical things.
So I'm going to come to Clifford in a moment, but let's be honest, football now is a sport which attracts so many sponsorship. The fact that we have got 40 more matches that are being played at this World Cup from, in comparison to the last edition, which only had 64, matches being played, means that FIFA have cashed in terms of...
They've been advertising during water breaks.
Exactly. Now,
a lot of people are saying the water breaks aren't really water breaks. They're meant for more advertising.
More games has translated into more money, owing to the fact that they've got 40 more games that, they can advertise. And FIFA are cashing in on that by saying the broadcast rights have gone up by 63%. Is this the real reason, in your opinion, when you put on that marketing cap of yours in football, is this the real reason why we've expanded, the tournaments?
Well, I think the resources coming in is a critical factor for FIFA. Our development, Clifford was with the association recently, so he knows, but a lot of the development program money comes from these FIFA tournaments that channel, and the biggest comes from the World Cup, and is then distributed or redistributed across the football family. So those are the benefits, some of the benefits. So commercially, yes, it's a high priority under Gianni Infantino for FIFA to increase the revenues, and that's exactly what is going to come out of this 48-team World Cup.
Clifford, your thought? Justifiable that, on the other side of the debate, the players' welfare might not be really considered. On the other side, well, it's all about making the money so that we can, again, refinance, if you like, the development, programs across the world to develop the game itself.
No, I think it's balanced. I think when you look at how amazingly this World Cup has been organized, the infrastructure. It shows that a lot of investment has gone into, organizing this World Cup. And, so the teams are obviously sacrificing their energy, their physicalities to be part of this tournament, but then FIFA also has to make some money out of it because they've put in a lot of money. So even the ad breaks at halftime, I hear they're raising about $260 million just from the adverts, which money they're taking and they're giving back to the FAs to invest in their football infrastructure and their football development. So I think it works. It's a 50-50 kind of situation. FIFA takes from the FAs, but at the end of the day, the FAs also take from FIFA as well. So it's a very balanced sequence. For me, it's good for football. I read about the story about the American young defender who has just gone viral today. I mean, when he was growing up, his father was an NFL Super Bowl winner. So the pressure on him was not soccer, as it's called in America. But he believed in himself. His mom believed in him, and today he's out there on the world stage showcasing talent. And all these young American kids are now saying, "Oh wow, we can also actually play this sport. We all don't have to play basketball. We don't have to play NFL." So I think it's a good attraction everywhere as well, a good encouragement for the kids around the world. I mean, look at what's happening in Haiti, and look at the stage where they're playing at. So at the end of the day, I think it's a 50-50 thing.
So you are on the fence. The expansion is both good and bad.
No.
In short.
Good. My expansion is good. I'm on the fence in terms of the commitment that the players have to give. But then again, FIFA is also helping the FAs again, help the teams as well to balance up.
Ponga, you're on the fence as well? Or?
No, I'm not on the fence. As I said earlier, I think 32 would have been a better fit for the World Cup than 48 teams.
You can also have your say in our comment section. Give us your thoughts about our topic of discussion, the pros and cons, looking at the expansion to 48 teams at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Time for us to go back to the action on the field of play. In the early hours of tomorrow, it's Tunisia up against Japan. This one should be a feisty affair, owing to the fact that it's do or die. It's a match that Tunisia really, Ponga, have to get a win because they were taken to the cleaners in their opening encounter against Sweden, 5-1. They lost that particular encounter, and they're up against a very tactful, very united, and efficient machine in the Blue Samurai or Japan. How do you see this one panning out?
Yeah, I think, look, Renard has taken over Tunisia, but I think coming in so late and at such a late stage, he will not really have much of an impact on reorganizing the Tunisian team. So I think the Japanese will dominate that game without question. They've always, over the years, I mean, I've seen them from the time they formed the J League in around 1992, just before the 94 World Cup, and how football has risen in Japan because of that organization. And these performances we are seeing are as a result of the J League and how well organized Japanese football is. So definitely, I give them the advantage in this next round.
Me and Ponga had spoken about this, Clifford. I don't know what your thoughts are. If you look at the Asian teams, different approaches, but teams are still getting to the World Cup. If you look at China, for instance, over 1.7 billion, they are failing to get to the World Cup. They throw crazy money at at established stars, probably in the evening hours, to bring them to their league. It's a similar situation in Qatar, a similar situation in probably even Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
But, the J League in Japan have gone a different route. They've invested in, youth structures and in their league, and now are exporting players almost every season into Europe. Is that a more viable way? And this is probably why, Japan are probably the highest ranked Asian side, according to the FIFA rankings.
Well, if tourism was a sport, I think China would be, would be the world number one right now, But everything is about structure.
Yeah.
Everything's about structure and objectives. And I think when you look at South Korea and Japan, I think they've got these objectives and structure in terms of the way they want to do things, their football, compared to China. I think even in North Korea is probably stronger than China as well when it comes to football as well, So it's all about just structure and what you want to, how you invest in your sport.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of football, Japan is going to dominate for a very, very long time.
Okay.
Because they have got a structure in place. They've got, objectives in place that they follow strictly. They're a very disciplined country.
Yeah.
So I see them dominating Asia for a number of years to come.
Okay. Let's just interest you to a very, very important statistic or fact about this particular encounter between Japan and, of course, Tunisia, because it is the 1,000th game, and we can have that graphic on the screen there. It's the 1,000th game in the history of the FIFA World Cup, dating back to 1930, the first, tournament and the first match being played. So far, as of yesterday, there have been 996 games that have been played, and 2,816 goals have been scored in the FIFA World Cup. So that's just an interesting statistic surrounding, a match that we're going to see coming into your coming your way at 06 hours Central African time. But I just want to get your thoughts on Hervé Renard. I know that Ponga had touched on Hervé Renard's appointment as Tunisian head coach. Literally after the first game has already been played. You know him much better than most of us, having played under him. What sort of a tactical approach do you expect him, considering that the time factor? He's had very, very little time, if at all, 4 or 5, training sessions with his side. How do you expect him to line up this, Tunisian side in a match that they really, really need to get a result against the well-oiled, Japanese side?
Yeah, well, I think when Ponga touched on the issue, he mentioned the word defensively.
Yeah.
So I think he's definitely going to have that approach. Coming off a 5-0 loss in their first game was not good for them. They'll argue that they play against the Germans.
Yeah.
But against the Swedes.
Yeah.
But and Sweden is not the best team.
Yeah. They needed the playoffs to get to this spot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think Tunisia were just very poor in that game, and they were not very disciplined defensively, because even when you look at the way they conceded those goals, it was just lack of concentration and discipline.
Okay.
So Renard comes in. Renard is as tough as they come.
Yeah.
He emphasizes on discipline, on teamwork, on unity. So I think if you can get them to gel in that direction, defensively, I think they can hold their own.
Okay.
Japan is not the biggest team on the continent, so I think Tunisia has the firepower to go toe to toe with Japan.
Okay.
And if they should just try and avoid conceding early, because if they concede early, coming off a 5-0 loss, already in your mind, psychologically, they're saying, oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
So mistakes become plenty and many, and you don't want that scenario.
Yeah.
So they need to hold themselves defensively so that they can grow into the game and hopefully hope to find a goal.
To borrow a football connotation in the dying minutes, we just have enough time to touch on Germany up against Ivory Coast. It's a battle, Ponga, between two sides that claimed victory in their opening matches. How do you see this match, panning out, considering that, the Africans will be definitely the underdogs against the 4-time former champions of the world?
Yeah, I think I'll give Germany tactically and technically the edge over Cote d'Ivoire because they seem to have much more depth, much more organization. I think up front, Germany have got the firepower to trouble the Ivorians, which I think will be the case today.
Yeah.
So definitely we are going to see a situation where the Germans will push to get the result that will see them into the next round. Ivorians, I think, need to be well structured, well organized, and be tight at the back, not allow the Germans too much opportunity, and see if they can get enough from that approach to come away with something.
Clifford, the fact that the Germans beat Curacao by 7 goals to 1, 6 different scorers, Kai Havertz getting a brace, and the other, German players like Musiala also getting on target in that particular encounter, suggests that this is not a German side like the ones we've known in the past. Like they would rely heavily on one player like Miroslav Klose to get them the goals, or a Gerd Muller, or so on and so forth. It suggests that they can hurt you from multiple fronts. How do Ivory Coast nullify those multiple threats in this particular encounter?
Well, Ivory Coast cannot avoid at any second to switch off.
Yeah.
Because Germany is an all-attack-minded kind of team. They attack from all angles with any player on the pitch. So Ivory Coast will have to try and match them pound for pound and not allow them to have a lot of space on the ball.
Okay.
So Ivory Coast will have to keep it very, very tight. But I also like the fact that the Germans have acknowledged that we are coming up against former African champions that have won the AFCON a number of times in a very difficult continent, difficult opponents.
Yeah.
So the Germans will also be worried that they can be hurt. That when they've got Nicolas Pepe in that team as well, Ivory Coast was very dangerous. So they've got Frank Casey in the midfield. So I think the biggest battle is definitely going to be in the middle of the pack.
Yeah.
And whoever can dominate the middle of the pack, with the firepower that both teams have up front, it could go either way.
Yeah.
Though I see Germany, like Ponga said, tactically and technically, they're obviously a little bit more advanced than the Ivorians, but character sometimes can carry you the day. So Ivory Coast have to just have the right character and approach this game believing that they can beat the Germans.
We have just about a minute to go before we close the show. Prediction time, beginning with you, Ponga. Let's focus on the African teams. Tunisia up against, Japan.
Japan win.
Japan win.
Yes.
And Germany up against Ivory Coast.
Difficult one.
That's not a prediction.
Yeah, I see a German win.
A German win.
Yes.
I also go with Ponga. I don't see Tunisia. The best Tunisia will manage in this game is a draw, but with the discipline and technical abilities of the Japanese, I see them winning this game. The Germans, Ivory Coast will resist for a while in the game, but I feel the superior fitness of the Germans is going to overcome the Ivorians, and also the intelligence in the last third will be enough for the Germans to carry the day.
Gents, it's been a pleasure, sharing the set with you. Your insight has been invaluable.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Let's just recap and just confirm those fixtures that you can expect today in the 2026 FIFA World Cup, beginning with that match between the two sides from Europe. It's the Dutch up against the Swedish side. That match kicks off at 19 hours Central African time, to be followed by Germany up against the Ivory Coast at 22 hours. Into matches across tomorrow in the early hours is Ecuador up against Curacao at 02 hours. And of course, Tunisia lock horns with Japan at 6 hours Central African time or Zambian time. I've been your host, Isaac Chipwatanga, on behalf of a fantastic crew behind the scenes, giving you the best in terms of quality of picture and sound, as well as my guests here, names that have impacted Zambian football for the better. And of course, we hope to have them in subsequent programs on this particular flagship program on BMTV channel 114, Beyond the Whistle, which takes you into the world of the World Cup, but also takes you beyond the scorelines in as far as the tournament is concerned. Until tomorrow, goodbye, God bless, au revoir.
Your mind, 21 hours in Britain, BMTV. For 21 hours perspective, the button you are back man my on for late night show now. Pack man walk back.
Hello, beautiful people. My name is Esther Chungunya Tando, and you are watching BMTV Channel 114. God bless.